State your name for the record.
Jin Ursa.
So how would I make Rogue One better? There's hardly anything. It's that good. So really, I'm only discussing this film about how it could be better with some wonderings, just to see where, if there is, when you critically analyse it, if there could be better, or it isn't as good as I initially thought, or think now. Would it make it even better? Would it make it the best film ever made? So at this point on, it's spoilers. If you haven't seen the film, you've got to go and see the film. And if you haven't seen it lately, go and see it again because it's worth it. So looking closely at the plot, are there things I would change? The first plot point, which is quite obvious, is that when she receives a hologramic message from her father, she doesn't take it with her to report back to the rebels. I mean, you could say, like she says in the film, that she hasn't seen her dad for 20 years, everything was going crazy, you might forget it. So possibly get away with that. But maybe more importantly, actually, is that even if she had got that message back to the rebels, they wouldn't have believed it anyway because it's from where it came from. He could have given the pilot who sent the message in the first place, he could have told him the actual vulnerabilities in the Death Star, so he could have had the disc and he could have passed on the message too. But then obviously the information is quite sensitive, so maybe if he told too many people about the vulnerability of the Death Star, the Imperials would have changed it. Other points in the film where I felt it could have been better is that when a character fulfills his purpose in the plot, they are immediately killed. Like Jen's father, who immediately dies as soon as they see each other. Same as far as Whittaker's character. As soon as his purpose in the film has been fulfilled, he pretty much kills himself because he doesn't even try to escape. Like the pilot who connects up the communications, as soon as he does that, he gets blown up. As soon as the blind guy switches the switch, he dies. Even the main protagonists in the film, as soon as they fulfill their plot point, they die. Surely they could have kept some of them alive a bit further just to show that that wasn't actually happening in the story. And then other points that you could pick on is that the blind guy, who's great in the film, but he beats up stormtroopers with a stick constantly. Just swipes them away quite easily. I mean, the stormtroopers are wearing protective armour. I suppose they could have given him a lightsaber, but then that would have made him a Jedi, and they didn't want Jedis in this film. I don't want Jedis in this film, it would have ruined the whole feel of it. Why do they make stormtroopers so crap? I mean, these are elite soldiers cloned from the best soldier. I think it showed in other films that I've forgotten, probably rubbish. And they're the worst shots ever. They can't hit anything. And they get killed in the most silly ways, so effortlessly. Haven't they learnt from Return of the Jedi, where fans got really annoyed by the most elite stormtroopers getting killed by teddy bears, Ewoks? So from a production point of view, the film looks incredible from the very first scene to the last. It's one of the most beautiful films to see, visually. The scenes are stunning. They look so real. But the problem is it falls down on the CGI on some of the characters they brought back to life, like Princess Leia. For me, it took me out of the film because it looked so weird and a bit fake. So, Darth Vader isn't really featured in the film much. He's kind of a side character, which I prefer. If he was in it more, I think it would have took away his mystery and his impact. Like, at the end of the film, he perfectly joins Rogue One with A New Hope. Most people will agree it's one of the best ever scenes in any Star Wars film. The impact of that. Because the rest of the film doesn't really show any Jedi or Sith powers, and then suddenly at the end he just crescendos to that. It's fantastic. But did it distract away from Rogue One's feel without any Jedi or Sith in particularly? For me it didn't. And then if you look at the trailers, it's something interesting quite happened. A lot of the footage in the trailers isn't actually used in the film. So what apparently happened is The original story, Disney and Lucasfilm approved, and then after the first viewing, they decided it didn't make sense because the protagonist survived, which didn't make sense to the rest of the film, and it's too far-fetched for them actually to survive in this trapped on this planet. So what they did, they refilmed the key scenes. It's a bit of a mystery what they did refilm, but apparently the ground attack on the beach was a lot more in-depth. The main characters were all there at some point as well. Some kind of beach battle scene that we haven't seen, which would have been amazing. But I like the way it is in the final cut, so let's leave that for debate. But one of the most disappointing things that we didn't see that I would like to change is that in the trailer, Jen is on the top of the tower when the TIE fighter just comes up. It looks breathtaking, but that isn't in the film. I think they could have incorporated that back in somehow because she was already up there anyway. So is Rogue One too downbeat? Is it too depressing to watch? I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. For me, this is a Star Wars film fans have wanted to see since the 70s. It's not patronising. It's authentic, it's gritty, proper characterisations, a good balance of humour in there as well, provided by K2. And when he dies in the film, it really is quite emotional. I'm not a die-hard Star Wars fan. Sure, when I was growing up as a kid, I loved it, I watched them several times, I had all the toys and everything like that. But half the Star Wars film now are rubbish. I would only want to see them again, they're that bad. You could almost take the Star Wars Easter eggs and the hints and the nostalgia out of this film and it'd still be incredible. And of course, compared to a lot of Star Wars films they've made lately, it's a masterpiece compared to them. But that's not why I'm rating it so highly. I rarely rate a film 10 out of 10. On my Internet Movie Database, there's only a handful of all the films I've seen. The thing is, they didn't learn from it. The latest Star Wars films, especially The Last Jedi, is one of the worst films I've ever seen. Surely they would have seen how fans reacted to this and how they cherish it so much and built on it and incorporated it into the newer films. So in summary, how would I change this film to make it better? There are a few points in that I would, but they're not really that important. For me, Rogue One is one of the best Star Wars films, but actually one of the best films I've ever seen, in the cinema and at home.